Hi, I'm Sandra Hawkins and I want to show you arrays with the basic for loop in Java. So I have an array declared already, and my last example used an int array, so this one is a double array. So double array, I'm calling it numbers, so number is the variable that will refer to the area in memory with my array of doubles in it. And the last time I had new int square brackets, just going to go back, open the last one. I had new int square brackets 5 that set up new memory for 5 ints, and then I had to go along and populate each element or assign each element a value. So this time there's a shortcut for that, and that is equals and curly brackets. So the curly brackets will set up memory and assign values to each element in one go. And I have written here in the brackets as well, you can put in there new double square brackets just between the equals and the opening curly brackets to explicitly say that you want new memory for a double array, but you don't have to do that. So what I want to look at is the basic for loop. It has the advantage over the enhanced for loop in that it can be used to assign values into an array, and it can be used for accessing elements to maybe perform an equation on them or an operation on them, or to print them out. So what I'm going to do first is just show you the basic for loop for printing out the elements from the array. Now in Eclipse, if you do for and control space, you get some options here, and you can see on the right hand side what they are. So the first one there, iterate over an array, it'll just save you typing it in. And what it does is this one, it sets up a counter to control how many times the loop will execute. So int I equals 0. So I is the counter or control of the loop, starting at 0. Keep going while I is less than numbers.length. So numbers is the array, the name of the array, and length is how many elements are in that array. So that will always give back the same value for this array. So numbers.length 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 elements in that array. When that array is created, there is a length variable for that array, and it will contain the number of elements in the array. So it's as like I wrote in there, I less than 4. But in case I go and add in an extra element up here before I run the program, numbers.length will change accordingly. So that's the for loop. And inside I'm going to put S out and control space, and I'm going to use the counter of the loop to access each element in the array as it loops. So the name of the array is numbers, and square brackets allows me to access each element in the array, and what I'm going to use here is the value I. So I will change as it loops. So firstly, I will be 0, so it'll print out numbers 0. I will go up to 1, it'll print out numbers 1. I will go to 2, it'll print out numbers 2. I will go to 3, it'll print out numbers 3. So numbers 0 get access to 12.5. Numbers square brackets 1, if you like, will get to 10.2. Numbers square brackets 2 will get to 22. So I'm just going to run that. So I just have a very basic printout there of the contents of the array. Now, if I just talk through this, I'll put on my writer. Oh, that's fairly massive. Okay, so I equals starts off at 0. So then it will go to 0 less than 4. When it is, it'll go inside the loop and print out nums 0, which will give us 12.5. When the body of the loop is finished, it will go to I++, which will change I to 1. From the increment, it'll go back to the test. So here is 1 less than 4. Yes, in we go. It'll print out numbers 1, 10.2. From there to the increment. So now I will change from 1 to 2. From the increment to the test is 2 less than 4. Yes, in we go. It'll print out numbers 2, which will give us the third line down here. After it prints out that, to the increment, so this time I will go from 2 to 3. From the increment back to the test is 3 less than 4, so numbers.length is 4. Yes, it'll do our printout. We'll get our numbers 4 there, which is 23.6, from the printout to the increment. So that will change our I to 4. From the increment back to the test, and that is 4 less than 4, no. So that's when it will finish. Condition will be false, and from there it will go to the line here after the for loop. So just back up here on our numbers. So the first element is at position 0, second element is at position 1, third element at position 2, and the fourth element is at position 3. Okay, so that is our basic for loop for printing out the contents of our array. Now I want to show you, again using the basic for loop, to assign values or to change the values that are in that array. So that is our basic for loop for printing the contents of an array. And now underneath, one more example in this, we'll have our basic for loop for assigning or changing elements or values in the array. Yeah, so for and controlled space, so iterate over an array. So now, we're okay here. Int I equals 0, that's declaring it. I'm thinking, well, I've declared int I equals 0 already. And sometimes you will get a clash if you declare two variables of the same name in the same scope. And by that I mean inside this block of curly brackets here. They would clash. But here, what's declared inside the round brackets of the for loop can only be seen inside that for loop. What's declared down here inside the round brackets of this for loop can only be seen inside here. Now, I could easily do this up in the first for loop, but I just want to show you just to kind of separate the two. So what I want to do is assign or change the value. So I'm going to have my array element equals a new value. So I've got an equal sign. The equal sign works from right to left. On the left-hand side, where am I going to put the value into? I'm going to put it into the array numbers position I. So that would be 0, 1, 2, and 3 as it loops. On the right-hand side, I want to take the value that's currently in each element and say add on 11. So how do I access the first element as it loops? That will be numbers square bracket I. And I'm just going to do a plus 11. Now, so to talk through what happens here. So just starting out here, just right in here. So when this starts off, I equals 0. So I is 0. So from our increment section to our test, 0 less than, so numbers.length, that's still 4. So 0 less than 4, yes it is, we go inside. Right hand side of the equals first. Numbers 0, number 0. So if we look up here, go up to here. Firstly, number 0 is 12.5. So 12.5 plus 11 is 23.5. I hope I don't get any of these wrong. So that will assign that to number 0. So we're still at this position. So it'll take the value, 12.5, add on 11, and assign that result back into the same position. So that's what happens. When that assignment is finished, it'll go to the increment, which will turn I into 1. From the increment back to the test is 1 less than 4. Yes, in we go. Now we've got on the right hand side of the equals numbers 1. So that's our second element. 10.2, add on 11. So 21.2 will get assigned to numbers 1. So it'll replace it. When that's finished, to our increment, so I goes from 1 to 2. From our increment back to the test is 2 less than 4. Yes, back we go in. Right hand side of the equals, numbers 2. 0, 1, 2. So we're on 22. 22 plus 11, so 33, will get assigned to numbers 2. So back in that position, that will get replaced. Now, from when that line's finished to our increment. So 2 will get replaced with 3. From our increment to our test, is 3 less than 4? Yes. So in we go. Right hand side of the equals, numbers 3, 23.6. Add on 11, so it'll become 34.6. 34.6 will get assigned to numbers 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. So that will change. The location, the value of that location will change then. When that's finished, back to I++. So I will become 4. And from our increment back to our test, is 4 less than 4? No, it's not less than 4. So that's when that loop will stop. Now, I've nothing here to print it out, so I'm going to pop that in. I'm just going to get rid of all those drawings. Tidy up a little bit of space here just while I pop in that another loop just for printing out. So another loop to print. So 4, you can use control space. The first one, I equals 0, I less than numbers dot length. So I'm going to put in a printout before this as well. So values after adding 11 to each. And inside here, printout. I'm just going to put even as well a little printout on the front of each one after change. So after there's been a change. And I'm going to concatenate onto that the name of the array, square brackets to access each element, and I will change as it loops from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. Now to run that program, we have a printout here of our 4 values before they were changed. I have a printout before the loop starts, and then you can see each value with 11 added on. So that is an example of the basic for loop. You can use that basic for loop to access each element to be printed or to be tested or use another operator on, like adding or multiplying. You can use the basic for loop to assign, to retrieve the value from the position, and maybe even assign a new value into that position in the array. And I've used again the basic for loop to print out there again. So in the next example, I'm going to show you the enhanced for loop, which can't be used for assigning into the array. It can only be used for printing or retrieving the values or printing them out, but it can't be used for accessing each element of the array to change its values. So that's where the basic for loop comes in.